Welcome to our next C# tutorial. Last tutorial we created a program where we have our program and one class, and we just run a menu screen off of that, and we had a small if statement. This time we're going to try for something bigger. We're going to step it up, so pay attention, and this is going to go a little fast. Well, it might for you, so if it does go too fast, just pause as we're going, work on your program, and then go back to the tutorial. First I'm going to run the program just so you can see what it does. So this is what you'll be doing today. Alright, here's our program. We have a math menu, English menu, science menu. Please select an option. Let's go for some math. Please enter the first number. How about 10? Second number. How about 12? Let's do addition. 10 plus 12 equals 22. Great. Would you like to run that again? No thanks. Thank you. Press enter to exit. Great. So that's what we'll be doing today. So first you're going to have to go ahead and make program. Go to File, open up a new program, and create 4 classes. You're going to want to create top class, a select class, math class, an open or close class. You can name them whatever you like. That's just what I happen to name them, and it will be easier to follow along if you have the same class names. Once you've got that done, I like to do this for each program I make. It just lets me know what class it's for. It kind of gives your ownership to the program since you wrote it. When you made it, once you get around to better programming, you'll start editing your programs as you go to make them work better. So your latest edit. And also in my classes, not the full version, but kind of the same thing, put that you made it, when you edited it. So we have our main method of our main class, and we're going to have the class top. So first we're going to make an object of that class, because that's going to be the first part of the program we're going to run. So here's my object, here's my class. We know how to do this from the last tutorial. If you can't remember, then go ahead and check out that PowerPoint. Alright, so here we have a method called paint top, and all this does is give some introductory information for the program. And in our main class, we're going to call the top object and run that paint top method. The next method that we want to run is the options method, which is some more menu screen stuff in that top class. So go ahead and call your object again. Use that object to call the options class in the main. And that's all we're going to have to do for the main. The rest is going to be ran through the classes. So we just ran the options. It gives our user math, English, or science, and ask them to select an option. We have our string first. You can name that any string you like. I just went with first because it's going to be the first thing that they enter for a selection. First equals console read line, that assigns whatever they enter to the first variable. Now what are we going to do with that variable? This is where it gets a little tricky. We have another class called select. You're going to go ahead and create an object of that class. There's our object, there's our class. Then use your object. We're going to have a method in there called options select. I just put SEL for short. And every other class we've called thus far has had empty in here. This is where your parameters go, in those parentheses. You're going to take this time that first variable, which represents what the user had entered, and we're going to put that in here for the first as the parameter. Now what that's going to do is the options select method, it's going to pass that first variable into that method, and then you'll see what we do with that next. So here's that select class, here's the options select method, and there we go, we have that first variable. You can actually name this in the new method anything you want. You don't have to keep the same name from the other class. I just keep it the same name because it's easier to keep track of that way. You won't confuse your variables as much. Now we're going to get into an if statement. Say the user selected A, if, here's our conditions, first equals, don't forget the double equals, A. We're going to tell them you selected math and run this code. Now, no, I spelled creates wrong, don't really matter. For now, we'll skip that. If they select B, you're just going to tell them English, that's all. If they select C, it's just going to tell them science. We're not really going to do anything with those options, they're just there for the sake of having options. Now, we have our ifs and our else ifs. What about our else statement? That's the last one. And don't forget your scope delimiters for each one, each else, and the first if. Now, what if they don't enter A, B, or C? That's where the else statement comes in, the last part. We're going to beep at them just to kind of give them a heads up, let them know they've made an error. And then we're going to call the options method of the top class again, and it will essentially start that over for them. So now let's see, if they had selected A, which was math, we're going to use another class we have called math, make an object of that class. There's your object, there's your class. And we're going to call the arithmetic method from that class, which I shortened for arith. That'll work. So here's our math class. This is where most of the work for this program happens. Again, here's our math class. Here's our arith method. First we initialize a few variables. Double is like integer, except for it allows to have integer values. It's like integer, but you're allowed to have decimals with double, whereas integer obviously doesn't. So here we have x, y, z, and a string variable I. We'll get into those in a second, what we're about to do with them. Alright, so we prompt the user to enter a number, and we're going to set that, whatever they enter, to our x variable. Now the reason this says convert to double here, instead of just console readline, a console readline automatically brings in anything they type as a string. But because x is a double, we want to use a double variable, not a string. If I were to get rid of this here, it would bring up an error saying that you can't use it because it's a string and x is supposed to be a double.